Welcome back to Hardball. President Obama is in College Station, Texas tonight, talking about public service at the invitation of former President George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 41. How will the bipartisan buddy show we're going to see tonight square with the folks down there? Let's talk to Philip Dennis. He's an organizer of the Texas Tea Party Patriots. Thank you very much, sir. Philip, I really want to hear from you. What do you make of the President Obama, again, meeting up with former President George Herbert Walker Bush at Texas A&M tonight?
Well, President Bush can invite whoever he wants to Texas A&M and has done so. He also has a history of hanging out with Bill Clinton, so that's his discretion to do so.
What's your feeling about it?
Personally, I'm neither here nor there about whether President Bush associates with President Obama or anyone else. That's his right to do so. And I mean, I have friends that don't agree with me politically, and so that has nothing to do with the matter. I think what people are protesting down in College Station today is President Obama's politics, and that we're not pleased with what he is doing politically in Washington, D.C.
Okay, let's get the politics of Texas figured out here. Governor Rick Perry has been elected now a couple of times down there. Here he is in April. Governor Rick Perry of Texas.
We're still part of the union down here in Texas, and our folks would like to keep it that way, but we see some things going on that are peculiar. They're frustrating, and I think the Texans are, you know, we're an independent lot, and we'd just as soon Washington not be mortgaging our kids' futures and ours for that matter.
Well, here he is a couple of days later, Governor Perry again on the issue of secession.
Texas is a unique place. When we came in the Union in 1845, one of the issues was that we would be able to leave if we decided to do that.
My hope is that America, and Washington in particular, pays attention. We got a great union. There's absolutely no reason to dissolve it. But if Washington continues to thumb their nose at the American people, you know, who knows what may come out of that.
Well, Philip, that's strange talk for a guy like me. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Never heard of the governor of Pennsylvania talking about seceding from the Union. What does it do to you when you hear your governor talking like that?
Well, it's election time. I can speak for the...
Is he a nutcase or what? I mean, do you think he's okay? Is he on the level? When he says secession, does he mean it, or is he? What's he doing?
Personally, I believe he was patronizing people, something that people wanted to hear. I can speak for the Dallas Tea Party, which is one of the larger Tea Party groups in the country, is that we do not advocate secession. Listen, we've lost a couple of elections, and we're going to fix that starting in 2010. But we're not talking about seceding from the country.
Well, he was doing this at a Tea Party event, and you say he was patronizing. Was he patronizing your crowd? I'm just asking who he's talking to here. It sounds crazy to me. You say it doesn't sound like anything more than politics, but what's he talking about, and what is your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is I disagree with that, and you know, politicians say a lot of things and do another. We see that all the time. I think the Tea Party movement he was speaking at when he said those things was organized by the Republican Party, which does not take place in about 99.99% of the country. In fact, that group now has been disbanded. So we do not allow politicians, elected politicians, or people who have announced they are running for office to speak with our to the Tea Party movement.
See. What do you make of those 6 Texas Republican congressmen who are birthers? They have real questions about Barack Obama's being an American.
Well, you know, I think we have a lot bigger fish to fry than that. When 46 cents
well, is it one of your fish? Is that one of your fish?
No, it is not one of my fish. My fish is fiscal responsibility, and that's the fish of the group that I represent and the Tea Party Patriots, is that we are fiscal conservatives, and that's what we are calling upon both parties, Republicans and Democrats, who have not acted responsibly in spending our country's money.
Who'd you vote for president 2000 and 2004?
I voted against President Obama and held my nose to vote for someone that I do not particularly care for in John McCain.
2000. I'm sorry, Mr. Dennis, 2000 and 2004.
In 2004, I voted for Bush.
Bush doubled the national debt, doubled it. He spent $700 billion bailing out Wall Street. He bailed out AIG. When did you discover that you were concerned about fiscal responsibility? Was it after a Democrat was elected president? And
Absolutely.
where were you when Bush was doing all this stuff?
Well, what we were not doing is we were not sending money to the RNC anymore, and we were not voting for Republicans. And that's what happened. And I am not a fan.
You reelected the guy. You reelected Bush.
I didn't vote for him the last time, and I didn't support what he does, and I'm not a fan of what he did. He did some good things with cutting taxes, and he did some good things with keeping us safe. But I am totally against what the Republicans did, spending money in Washington, D.C. when they were in power, and that's why they find themselves in the minority.
Well, let's go through that. Let's do some real serious work here for a minute. The Republican president, George W. Bush, and I agree with you, I thought he was doing a great job after 9/11 for a while there. I thought going after bin Laden was dynamite, and I was with the 90%. Let's go get that bastard. I'm all for that. But he never vetoed a single spending bill by the Republican Congress. Where were you each time? Each time he didn't veto, he let them spend the money on the pork and the earmarks and all that crap. Where were you guys?
Well, where I was and where I was.
Were you out there marching, holding Tea Party meetings?
No, we weren't at that point because we were just getting extremely ticked off, and we were, as I mentioned, we were not supporting the Republican Party anymore. We were not voting for Republicans, and we were not sending our money to the Republican Party, and we still are not doing so. And so let me make this straight, because I know where you're going at with this, Chris, and it's not fair. Is that President Bush, as bad as he was in terms of the deficit, President Obama in 6 months quadrupled the deficit with an $800 billion stimulus bill that quadrupled the deficit. And that was, in my opinion, the straw that broke the camel's back. And they did that without even reading it. Now, if our elected politicians that we send to Washington, D.C. do not take that oath of office strong enough to read the bills that they sign, then we need to bring them home. And that's what we're going to do, Republican and Democrat.
Well, the differences between Bush and Obama is that when Bush came in, we had a balanced budget. When he left, he doubled the national debt. Let me tell you the other difference. When he left office, we were going into a Great Depression. Many economists believed that the only thing that could be done at that point was to run a big deficit to offset the cut in consumer spending and business investment. So you're right. Barack Obama did run up the deficit. He did it, many people believe, because he had to, facing another Great Depression. Your reaction?
Yeah, my reaction is we've got a bunch of overeducated, undersmart people in Washington, D.C. They don't live like regular people do. We pay our bills on time. We go to work. We live within our means, not like the government borrowing trillions and trillions of dollars from people who could be our enemies.
So let me get this straight. You think the correct action for Barack Obama coming into office with a Great Depression facing him, well, you may disagree, you can certainly disagree, that his correct response was to keep the budget down, let the government just laissez-faire, let the business community and the consumer bail us out, let the free markets operate. You thought that was the right answer?
I believe the free market always prevails. I believe he should have cut taxes, released restrictions on businesses that have run our businesses overseas and jobs overseas now for decades.
What did Hoover do?
I wasn't around then.
Well, you know history, sir. What did Hoover do? He did what you prescribe right now, which is to do nothing, run a balanced budget, try to deal with it the old conservative way.
And haven't they come out now and said that FDR's policies of Keynesian politics extended the Depression by at least 7 years? What we're saying is that if we would have never gotten ourselves in this situation if big spending politicians hadn't have been allowed to run wild in Washington, D.C. while we sit at home and pay the bills.
Okay. Well, the only thing, you may have a theory there. I'm all for any theory that can be proven, but Franklin Roosevelt was reelected with all but 2 states. I think he carried 46 states in 1936 against Alf Landon. So whatever he did restored public confidence, and people believed in what he was doing to the point where Vermont and Maine voted against him. So your theory that somehow he deepened the Great Depression wasn't believed at the time.
Well, who cares what was believed at the time when it came out with the proof now showing that it is? I mean, that doesn't give me a thrill of my life.
Mr. Dennis, the problem is that history shows that the Great Depression was about to turn this country into probably a revolution. The Communist Party was building up support, the Socialist Party, and what saved the country was the Democratic Party at that time did something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or you disagree?
Well, they did something, absolutely, but it's very debatable whether it was really the good thing for the country. All we're saying, and I'm not going to get into, I mean, I don't care to, but I will debate about President Hoover, but if that's what you brought me here for, you're wasting your time.
No. What I bring you for is when you're holding Tea Party meetings and condemning this president for taking dramatic steps to deal with the Great Depression that was